Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the review for this Nexus 5X, and I have been using this Nexus 5X now for a couple of weeks, so I'll be sharing my pros and cons in the review, and at the end of the review I'll also give you some other choices that are available at this current price point. And before we continue, let me actually give you a configuration overview. This Nexus 5X sports a 5.2-inch 1080p screen with Gorilla Glass 3 protection. It is powered by the Snapdragon 808 chipset, which is actually a 6-core processor. The two powerful cores are based on the ARM Cortex A57, and the other quad core is based on the ARM Cortex A53. It has the Adreno 413 GPU, 2GB of RAM, 16 or 32GB of internal storage, 2700 mAh battery. Moving to the camera, the rear-facing camera is a 12.3 megapixel shooter, whereas the front-facing camera is a 5 megapixel shooter. So as you can see, the Nexus 5X packs in some very new features like the fingerprint scanner. And in fact, I wanted to first talk about the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner is here located at the back. And when you hold the phone, your finger easily rests on that. So if you just touch it, it actually unlocks very quickly. It is very fast, and it's a very fast fingerprint scanner, and it works, I would say, almost 95% of the time. It is a very fast and a very reliable fingerprint scanner. So it works very well. But now if we talk about the build quality is decent. It sports a 5.2-inch screen. But the thing is that the Nexus 5 is completely made up of plastic. So in the hand, it does not give you that very premium feeling if you're coming from a premium device. So that is one thing you have to be aware of that. Now when it comes to Android Marshmallow, it handles Android Marshmallow very well. I won't go in depth regarding Android Marshmallow and its new features because I've already posted a dedicated video about that. You can check out that video for more info. A link for that video will be over here. So it handles Android Marshmallow very well, and it's a very fluid experience. It handles it very well. Even in terms of multitasking, the multitasking performance was very good. It handles it very well. Even though it just has 2GB of RAM, even for multitasking it was good. I never faced any issues of lagginess while using this device. So it performs very well in that area. Now if we talk about the screen is a 1080p screen, and it's a decent screen for a 5.2-inch screen. Still, the PPI is high, that is almost 424 PPI. So the text looks sharp. But one thing that I have noticed is that the screen has, it's a warm screen. So the whites actually look a little bit on the yellowish side. It is not bad, I would say, and most of the users will simply not notice that. But if you are very, very picky about colors, you will immediately start to notice that. And I compared it with some other handset, for example, the Nexus 6P. The Nexus 6P's white look a lot whiter compared to the Nexus 5X. And even if we compare it with other devices like the Moto X style. In fact, the current Nexus 5X that I have is actually very good. The screen quality on this one is actually very good. But the earlier variant that I had actually a very yellow tint screen. So you have to be aware of that. In fact, I have also posted another video regarding that issue. So you have to be aware of that, in my opinion. Now, if we talk about the camera, here I'm actually very much impressed with this Nexus 5X. It sports that new 12.3 megapixel camera, and also has laser autofocus system. And the thing with this new Nexus 5X camera sensor is that the pixels are actually wider. It has a 1.55 micron pixel. That means it gathers a lot of light compared to most other smartphones. Hence, in the camera performance was actually surprisingly very good. For example, we generally take most of the camera shots in indoor conditions and in artificial lighting, and here the Nexus 5X actually excels. And as you can see, these sample photographs, the camera performance actually was very good. In fact, I have compared this Nexus 5X with some other handsets also, like the Moto X style and even the iPhone 6s. And in fact, in artificial lighting and low lighting conditions, it did perform much better compared to the Moto X style and even the iPhone 6s in many situations. So in terms of camera performance, the camera performance is actually very good. Even the front-facing camera performance was very good. So I'm happy with the camera performance of this Nexus 5X. Now if we move to gaming, I did quite a bit of gaming with this Nexus 5X, and the good thing is that it could handle any game I threw on it, and it ran fine without any lags or stutter. But one thing that I have noticed is that with extended gaming, if you do gaming continuously over for about 15 minutes, the handset tends to get a little bit hot. It touched almost 46 degrees Celsius, which is certainly hot. Now let me actually break down this device between the pros and the cons, the things that I liked about the Nexus 5X and the things that I did not like. First, let's start with the things that I really liked. The first thing that I really liked is the fingerprint scanner. As I've told you, it is blazingly fast. It's very fast in my opinion. Also, the handset is fast and very fluid device, even though it has just 2 gigabytes of RAM. The Snapdragon 808 chipset handles it fine, and you will not notice any lagginess or anything like that on the Nexus 5X, and it runs Android Marshmallow very well. Next, if we talk about the battery life, it has a sealed battery, which is a 2700 milliamp hour battery, and I would say the battery life is above average. It's not super excellent or something like that, but it is above average. In my day-to-day usage, at the end of the day, I was always hovering around 25% battery life. And to give you an idea, in terms of screen on time, I could get almost 4 hours of screen on time with this Nexus 5X. The good thing with the Nexus 5X is that the charger that is supplied is a fast charger, so it charges very quickly. But again, you have to be aware that this Nexus 5X has that USB-C port, so that's not very common. So make sure that you carry the charger that is supplied with your Nexus 5X. Also, as I mentioned, the camera performance was actually very good. One of the best cameras on a Nexus device, period. And also, as it's a Nexus device, you get the latest Android updates. I already got 2 OTA updates on this Nexus 5X. So you are bound to get the latest Android updates directly from Google as they are released. Now let's move to some of the cons. And first, let me talk about the pricing. And I'm going to talk about the pricing specifically in India. When this Nexus 5X was launched in India, and in fact, I purchased the 16 gigabyte variant from Amazon India, and I purchased that for 32,000. And I feel that the price was very high, and the 32 gigabyte variant was for 36,000 when it's launched. But recently the price has been slashed because I think so LG realized that the price was actually too high. Now you can get the 16 gigabyte variant for about 25,000 and the 32 gigabyte variant for about 30,000. So I feel the price is now okay. Still, I feel the price is high. And the thing with this Nexus 5X is that we get it in two capacities. That's the 16 gigabyte and 32 gigabyte. And the thing is that with the 16 gigabyte variant, out of the box, you just get about 10 gigabytes of space. It might be okay for a casual user, but if you are sort of a moderate to a heavy user, or if you install a lot of games, then you will easily fill up that 10 gigabytes in no time. For example, when I had that 16 gigabyte variant, within about 7-8 days, I just had about 2 gigabytes of space free because I installed some games and stuff. So if you're a sort of a heavy user, then you would have to opt for the 32 gigabyte variant if you plan to use this device for about 1.5 to 2 years. So that's my frank suggestion. So the price comes down to almost 30,000. So pricing is definitely on the higher side, though, because I feel, yes, though even with this 2 gigabytes of RAM, it handles it very well. But paying about 30,000 and just getting 2 gigabytes of RAM and that plastic build, I still feel the build quality should have been a little bit better. Now let's move to one more con that I have, and I noticed that it's not with just this one handset, because I had two Nexus 5X, the 16 gigabyte and this is the 32 gigabyte variant. The vibration motor is very harsh on this Nexus 5X. It always gives that very hard buzz feeling, and even in the Android keyboard, I could not lower it down. I even went to the Android keyboard settings with the stock keyboard, and I couldn't lower the vibration setting. It gives that very harsh vibration when you click on anything. It's something like that I've seen on very cheap budget oriented Android phones. So it does not give that premium feeling. That vibration is actually very harsh in my opinion. Now moving to the speakers, the good thing is that though it has just a single speaker, it is loud. But again, I would have loved to see a dual speaker setup. But again, even with the single speaker, as it's a front firing speaker, the audio output was good. Also, as I've already mentioned, it just feels too plasticky for a 30,000 phone. Because this year other Android manufacturers have really concentrated on the build quality, and even for example the OnePlus 2 has that metallic body, the Honor 7 again has that metallic body, and even this Moto X style, which is available for 30,000, feels a lot better built in terms of build quality and in-hand feel compared to this Nexus 5X. Simply speaking, this Nexus 5X does not feel that premium if you hold it in the hand, which is not exactly opposite for this Nexus 6P. The Nexus 6P actually feels very much premium. So again, it does not give me that premium feeling for a 30,000 rupees device. The last thing is that with general usage it was fine, but with extended gaming the device certainly can get a little bit hot. So these were some of the pros and cons with the Nexus 5X. The biggest advantage of this Nexus 5X is that it's a Nexus device, so you're going to get the Android updates very quickly. You don't have to wait. The performance of this device is good, but again, considering the price point, as I've told you, yes, the 16GB variant can be available for about 25,000 now in India. But realistically, if you're planning to buy the Nexus 5X and plan to keep it for more than a year, then I would strongly suggest the 32GB variant, and that bumps up the price to around 30,000. And I feel for the price of about 30,000, you can get this Moto X style. And I feel the Moto X style is a much more premium device. It has definitely a much better screen. Also, regarding Android updates, you don't have to worry. Even this Moto X style has now got the Android Marshmallow update. So I feel the Nexus 5X is still, the pricing is not that great. But again, overall, if you are still looking for a Nexus device and you simply cannot spend that much on the Nexus 6P, then you can certainly have a look at this Nexus 5X. I've also posted other videos on this Nexus 5X covering its various other aspects like its gaming performance and camera performance, so make sure you check them out. Also, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video.